Today, I'm going to be talking about a really great topic because I know many of you that, watch my show, follow me, listen to the podcast. You're all about improving your health, your emotional capabilities, your communication, and, your spirituality. There's a lot of things, and you probably have some practices, like maybe you do yoga, maybe you meditate, maybe you do like an energy practice, and yet many of you probably are not quite where you would like to be with respect to, some of these things that I've mentioned. And so today I'm going to be talking about why it is what you've been doing might not be getting you the results that you would like, why you're not feeling more calm, more connected, more at ease, more in tuned, more empowered, more confident. And I'm going to talk about why what you're doing isn't working and how you can get it to work or switch to something that does work. And I'm doing this today from Athens, Georgia. No, wait, Athens, Greece. So I've got the Acropolis right here behind me, the Parthenon's there, and some other cool stuff. So yeah, this is from Athens, Greece. So let's get started. Are you ready to live a life with enough time, money, and energy? Have relationships and connections that delight you? Are you ready for the extraordinary life you know you've been missing? If so, then this is the place for you. I'm a best-selling author, coach, consultant, and speaker who's worked in technology for over 2 decades. I'm a leader at transforming people and organizations from operating in fear, obligation, and guilt to running off joy, ease, and love. It's time for Engineering Emotions and Energy with me, Justin Wink, Ph.D. What is it that maybe you do or you've thought of doing, but maybe you have never been able to get into it, or maybe you've done it for a while but stopped? But either way, it's just there's, like meditation, yoga, Tai Chi, Qigong, lots of things that, we're all told, like, you do this, it's going to help you, feel more relaxed, more calm. It's going to help you maybe get your spiritual side more in tuned and connected, all these benefits. And I know many of you probably do have these practices, and some of you probably are even doing them continuously, yet it just feels like something's a little off. And I just had this realization while I was here in Athens of why that is, because I'm here of a place that many consider to be the start of a lot of civilization, incredibly ancient, right? Like this Acropolis and the things built behind me, I believe built somewhere 2000 to 2500 years ago. Yet in many ways that is both, it's very old, but then also it's relatively young. Like there really are things much more ancient in the world, and there's some of those things even more ancient just here in Greece, 5,000, 8,000, maybe even more, right? Yet we're also, living here today because it's like I'm here recording this on on a phone, a MacBook, and going to upload it using Wi-Fi. And there's cars going around and beeping and honking, and so we have this mix of, we come from some very ancient times and places, yet we have modern technology. And the previous episode, I talked about life energy, and that really a lot of the practices that you want to be working with, they all they have their root in working with life energies. And just like many of these temples and places of sacredness, they were all built with the intention of connecting with various forms of life energy, and working with it, and from the land and from the people's intentions and things like that. It just because that's how it was created doesn't necessarily mean that's how it is today. And just like with many of your practices, and I know some of you are probably going like, "Oh, Justin, I was tuning in because I wanted to hear the fourth." No, wait. Well, it'd be the fourth in the series, but it would be the third best value of the 6 best values to have in 2026. And so, for those of you that tuned in for that, keep tuning in because it's coming. I'm ready to record that next after this, actually, because I'm super excited about recording it, revealing it. This came to me and I'm like, this is so important for where I am and for where you are and for where we are in this time in history, because a lot of the stuff that has worked and maybe has worked for you is not what will work now and will not work going on into the future. And it's not that what you've learned or what you've been doing has is wrong or didn't have any benefit. I Again, I really feel this is like a great place to be doing this from because Athens, just Greece in general, a lot of things that we take for granted day to day, like some forms of mathematics, were created in thousands of years ago in these times. Like Pythagorean theorem and Aristotle and all sorts of great contributions to mathematics. And so I really feel like mathematics can be a good analogy. So we're not gonna get too much into math, but we're just gonna use it as an analogy for the practices that maybe you've learned and done. Because the thing is, pretty much, I guarantee that everybody, that's connecting with the show right now, you at some point learned your addition and subtraction, right? Um, and memorizing and practicing with addition and subtraction tables hugely beneficial. What is that, early grade school, something like that, like I don't know, is that second grade, somewhere around there. And then at some point it's like, okay, let's, now that we got addition subtraction, time to move on to multiplication, right? And division, right? So that comes a little bit later. And then at some point, it's like, okay, we got that. Like, let's start. I can't remember what comes first or second. It's been so long. I've done so much math. But like, let's just say that it's like, okay, well, let's try to let's do a little bit of geometry, right? Like triangles and shapes and angles and then okay, then maybe it's time for algebra, right? So like, okay, well, let's see if something's missing. How do we find that? Utilize, and it's all building on top of each other. The addition, subtraction, multiplication, division is getting utilized in these higher levels of mathematics. And some people, it's like, hey, addition, subtraction, multiplication, like that's all I need. Just came back from going to the farmers market here in Athens, and I'm telling you, this is the biggest farmers market I've ever seen. It was literally like half a mile of vendors all selling various produce and things, and there's fishmongers. And I was like, oh, now I totally understand why going to like most of the supermarkets here, there's not a lot of produce, often not a lot of selection, because here the majority of people still buy and sell their produce at farmers markets. It's not, oh, this is the fancy, thing to do. Like, look at me, aren't I cool? Which is very common, at least in a lot of the cities in California, is I find it funny that it's usually like if you only go to the farmer's market if you're well off enough, if you make enough money. If you don't have enough money, there's no way you would afford a farmer's market in California. You go to a grocery store, or you go to like Walmart or something like that. But here the local farmer's market is where you go for the best deals. I mean, it's not only the best deals, but it's also the best selection, the best quality. And there it's they're doing the math and the subtraction and all this stuff like in their heads. A lot of these produce vendors, it's like they like know how much it is and they got it down. Yet my guess would be is that many of them, they, if it was like, oh, let's talk about calculus or let's talk about geometry, they're like, no, no, thank you. And my point of that is that you know, for different people, different amount of mathematics is adequate. Yet for other people, like for me to become an electrical engineer, I had to keep going in the world of mathematics. I had to start learning, calculus and then differential equations, and then some crazy format, discrete mathematics, and all sorts of things, different base number systems, so not just base 10, but des binary and octal and hexadecimal, all these different things to do and doing math in those forms. So lots of, because that's what was required for me to do what I was meant to do as an electrical engineer, is go into these advanced mathematics. And it's like, okay, Justin, what does this have to do with my yoga practice or my qigong, my tai chi, my meditation that I've been doing? What I'm saying is if you are meant to be an incredible engineer and all you do is spend time doing your addition and subtraction tables, And maybe you think about multiplication. A couple things. One, you're not going to ever become that engineer, that scientist, that mathematician, the whatever you were meant to be. And the second thing is it's likely going to become really frustrating, really dull, really boring because you're meant to move on to something else, right? It was meant to be a stepping stone. It was meant to be part of a progression, and you got stuck. And many of the practices for many people, it's a great practice, but it was never meant to be the final practice that you were meant to do. And it was not meant to be something that you do every day for the rest of your life. It's meant to be a stepping stone in your progression to become the person, to find the practice, to do the things that allow you to become who you're meant to be, both, professionally, interpersonally, and spiritually. And so if you've been finding that these practices that you've been doing day in, day out, and maybe they don't stick, there could be a reason they don't stick because you're meant to find something else. You're meant to find something different. And at this point, you might be wondering, like, well, what is that something different? And the fact that you just start asking that question is huge. That means now you're open. You're open to finding something that could work, could be different, could be the next stepping stone, or could be the thing that is the thing for the rest of your life that's going to support you in what you're meant to do. And so we all like to think that, oh, if it's something old, then there must be something to it. And I'm not saying that there isn't. There often is. Yet often something old is something that was meant for a time and a place or part of a progression, right? Kind of like let's use, telecommunications here as a little bit of example. Like the way that telephones used to work, it was great at the time. It got us interconnected at one point, but then we upgraded. We went from analog ways of connectivity for telecommunications to digital forms. And it's one of those that we can still do the analog form, and sometimes people do it, kind of as a learning activity, or maybe they're in a place where that's just all that's able to be done for whatever reason. Yet, if you really want to maximize, what you're able to do nowadays, you get into the digital form of telecommunications, and then there's all sorts of different things as well. So what I'm getting at is now that you're open, now you can start to think like, what are the other ways that I could try connecting to and being open to other types of practices? And if you did listen to the previous episode or watch it on YouTube, which I highly encourage, especially the ones where I'm somewhere cool, like here in Athens, Athens, Greece, where I've currently got the Acropolis behind my shoulder. Um, I was talking about life energy and that I've developed an incredibly powerful tool for working with, life energy, which is incredibly important, but it also works on the other levels of your physicality, your emotionality, and your mental state. So it's an incredibly powerful tool that will absolutely change your life. And so if you're now open to like maybe it is time to try a different practice, I'd highly encourage you to try my life energy activation process or LEAP. I will be doing it live coming May 2nd in at Ocean Yoga in Pacifica. So go to my website. We'll make sure the link is available. Yet I'll also start offering this, at more places, also doing online. Yet I would encourage you that if any of this is resonating and you're like, oh, it's time to try something new, don't wait for me to, come to you. This is an invitation. You come to me and go, Justin, I want to learn this thing. Because I got some stuff in the works, and sometimes it's just like, oh, if people want this, I'll prioritize some things over another, or we'll just set up and do a one-on-one session, or we'll create a group thing together sooner than later. Because I love getting this to people, I love sharing it, and a lot of it is I just trust that I'm getting it to the right people at the right time in the right ways. And so if you're letting me know that, hey, this is something that I want to find out because this is something where once I teach it to you, uh, one, it's designed for people living today because a lot of the practices, a lot of the things they were designed for people living 50, hundreds, thousands years ago. And like I said, times have changed. Like, it's one of those things that I'm not saying don't carve out an hour to meditate. If you can, great. It is going to do a lot of good stuff. Yet there's a little bit of like, it's in this day and age, it used to be you had nothing but time, but now we've created where there's a scarcity of time. And so how is it you start to create more time as you start to get more calm, more centered, more aligned? more in tuned, that time starts to become more available for the things that matter truly to you. Yet, how do we start doing that? And that's what my leap practice can do, because it takes just 4 minutes to do the practice, which literally I do it while I'm cooking eggs sometimes, or I do it while it's like, oh, somebody's like, oh, I just need a couple more minutes. It's like, oh, I can do the practice. Where it's other things I found, because I've trust me, I've tried it all, done it all, and again, gotten much benefit. Yet this I've developed for people like you that are busy and you want to do something and you want it to be powerful and you want it to matter, yet you don't have a lot of time because you're living in today's age and you want to be impactful. This is about having impact for yourself, for the people around you, for the entire world. And it doesn't take me long to teach it. I can teach it in I'm finding about 1 hour is great, because then it lets me explain, the nuances, the what to look out for, answer questions. So in just an hour. And the thing is, when I teach it, it's like you have an entire retreat in a day. So it's like a day-long retreat in just an hour. Again, because, people often had a lot more free time, so you could go spend a day to learn an entire thing. Like, if you got it, great, go do it. Yet, wouldn't you rather, if you could learn something in 1 hour that's going to change your life just by doing it 4 minutes whenever you do it, so you could do it daily or more than once a day, or at least, a few times a week? How does that compare to maybe the other practices that you've learned? Like, are you even able to do them once a week or even more than once a week? Or is it just sometimes you're lucky if you get to do it once a month, and then occasionally it's, oh, I'm going to go do a big retreat? Because honestly, spiritual, energetic, physicality practices, just like working out at the gym, it's what you do daily or as close to daily as you can that has the big impacts. It's not the big push, right? Because it's like if you go run a marathon, it's like you ran the marathon, but you really didn't shift your body. But if you begin running a little bit every day, going to have a big change on how your musculature is and your cardiovascular and all that stuff. And that's what the practice like this is, leap. It's incredibly powerful. The more often you do it, the more benefits. Yet even if you just come and do the practice, it's going to have some big changes in your life. And not everybody's ready for that. And that's okay. Because again, as I was saying, these practices, very much like mathematics, they're not for everybody, right? Not everybody's meant to, do differential equations. Not everybody's meant to learn, complex optimization mathematics. We need all types of people. We just need some people that it's like you do the addition, subtraction, multiplication super fast because you're feeding us, right? You're there, so getting the produce, making sure that we're all fed. Hugely important, just different people doing different things. Yet if you're listening to this and you've been doing practices and they just aren't landing, or they're not getting you where it's like you want to be, there's just something off. And how do you know something's off? If you're tired, if you're frustrated, if you're sad more than you should be, if you get frustrated, if you feel burnt out, any of those things, it's an indication you're probably not where you're meant to be. And so it's probably time to try something new. It's time to step up to something a little bit more advanced, a little bit more modern. And that's what my life energy activation process is all about. So, what's landing for you? I'm super curious. Like, is there some practice you've been doing? Like, has it been yoga, some other type of energy practice? Has it been a form of meditation? Because again, it's not that any of the things are wrong. It's just maybe it's time for you to have a new tool in your toolbox. And again, once you have more tools, you'll start to know, oh, this is the go-to tool every day in my life for what matters to me. And oh, it's so great I have these other tools at other times in my life, or just maybe that I now have things to share to other people, right? Because again, I'm so fortunate that I've done so many other tools, one for myself, and then to suggest to other people depending on where they might be at, right? Because it's sort of like if I'm, knowing as many different forms of mathematics that I know now, if I just, go, oh, well, you just apply calculus to it to everybody I meet, it's like, well, that can be overkill, right? It's like I should be aware that there's, oh, well, you just need to divide those numbers. Like that's all you got to do. And it's, oh, okay, well, let me learn that. Much easier, right? So just such as with these practices. So I'd love to hear, what you're thinking, how it's landing. Are you curious? So send me an email, connect with me on one of these platforms. So, a Justin Wink PhD on all the socials, and I think podcast at justinwink.com if you want to send an email. Yeah, really excited to hear what you think. And again, justinwink.com/leap, LEAP for the life energy activation process. Yeah, get on the list for that. But if you want something sooner, because again, why would you want to wait for something that's going to change your life for the better? Then just, reach out, make sure that we can get this to you as soon as possible. Otherwise, if you are in the Bay Area of California, May 2nd, absolutely come check out my workshop. It's only 1 hour. And again, you learn this process that only takes 4 minutes to practice. So thank you with that, and good day. Thanks for tuning in to Engineering Emotions and Energy with Justin Wink, Ph.D. Today's episode resonated with you? Please subscribe and leave a 5-star review. Your feedback not only supports the show, but also helps others find us and start their journey of emotional and energetic mastery. You can also help by sharing this podcast with someone you think will love it just as much as you do. Together, we're engineering more amazing lives. All right, before we wrap up, I've got something for you. If you've been listening to this podcast and thinking, yeah, I get this, but how do I actually feel it and use it? I'm hosting a live, in-person, 4-level recharge workshop on May 2nd at Ocean Yoga in Pacifica. This is where I share a simple yet powerful 4-minute tool that'll recharge you on 4 levels: your body, your mind, your emotions, and your energy. It's not a concept, it's something you actually experience. The workshop only takes an hour, but it can feel like you had a full day retreat. You'll leave with a powerful tool that can reset and recharge you anytime you want in just 4 minutes. So if you've been feeling a bit off, overloaded, or just not fully who you know you can be, and you'll be in the Bay Area on May 2nd, you can grab your spot at oceanyoga.com or use the link in the show notes. I'd love to see you there.